if you can get the rehab done, at the quoted price, which he stands by, because he'll also tell you that if they get a higher quote, I just saw it last week, Mainstay covered the difference. Not a whole lot of wholesaling companies are going to stand behind their product like that. My name's Rob Willson. My wife Nancy and I started in real estate in 2016 or 17. We actually got caught up in the Morris Invest mess that happened in Indianapolis, and so we had a rough introduction into real estate. Once we found out we were being had with that, we decided to fix it. Made our first trip to Indy ourselves and found our property in a very bad state, since it was supposed to have already been rehabbed, and we found it vacant, no work done, no tenants, etc. So we decided to stick with everything and ended up doing our own rehab on that project. We went and found contractors local there in Indy. We spent about a week there, met a lot of different people, and turned that into our first rental property that we still have today, and it's been rented ever since, doing well. Later on, we ended up joining the Indy out-of-state groups. We got introduced to Evan. We went out to the out-of-state investor conference last year. Got to meet everybody in person, really great. By the time we'd been out to that conference, though, we had already purchased our first property from Mainstay as a Burr property. So we purchased it. Again, we did our own rehab using our own contractors. We ended up putting a tenant in it, and we burred every dollar of that property back out. So we had $0 of our own money in that property. Evan approached me with our first, what became our first flip in late November of last year, right around Thanksgiving timeframe. He had a buyer for it that backed out, and he needed to get it off the books. And he said, "Hey, this will make a good flip." Sent me the numbers, and my wife and I were kind of looking. I was like, we hadn't flipped anything, but we'd done full rehabs on a rental. So we're like, why not? Let's do it. And when I mean full rehabs on our rentals, we gutted a couple of our rentals and added bedrooms and moved walls. So we're like, a flip can't be that different, right? Well, we're a little wrong. We ended up closing on it, I think, November 27th. Evan had sent us a scope of work for having Mainstay do the work for us, and we looked at it, and it was a good scope. But we'd done all of our own rehabs on our other properties with our own contractors, so we're like, well, let's at least bid it out, get a couple of bids, see where they come back at. The one that we'd used came back pretty close to Evan's, and then we had another one that we'd got referrals to, but we hadn't used him yet, and he came back in significantly cheaper. So I told Evan, hey, we're going to give this a shot using our own guy. The rehab that should have taken 3 months, 2 to 3 months, ended up taking almost 6 months. So what ended up happening was, with the inspection, after the rehab was quote unquote done, the inspector came in and found a few large ticket items that our general contractor had missed. So at the grand scheme of things, at the end of the day, we ended up spending almost to the penny what Evan's bid came in at. But the downside is we had this property, we sat on it for 6 months. From the date we bought it to the date we sold it, it was 6 months and a day. So we had a lot of extra holding costs that we shouldn't have had. I know the Aaron's crew would have got in and done that flip and probably been in and out in 4 to 6 weeks. But there's 2 or 3 months worth of holding costs that we could have potentially avoided there. We ended up doing a little over $54,000 in rehab to this project. So our original quote, like I said, came in significantly lower. It was at $37,000, but it was those gotchas on the end that the inspector found that were pretty big that brought us up to $54,000. Selling cost were your percentage for your realtors and stuff was about $20,000. So at the end of the day, we ended up walking with a little over $25,000. So for our first flip, we'll call that a win. Evan and Clay and the whole team has been nothing but transparent with us. I'm on several wholesale lists, but when I see the numbers come in from Evan, he's got his ARVs out there. He's got his price and his potential rehabs or his potential profits. And from the 3 or 4 deals I've done with him, they've been spot on. The numbers have been 100% accurate.